We are live. Today we'll be talking about attachment styles and expat life and why living abroad can feel so lonely. My name is Naina Kaputi. I'm the founder and CEO of the Expat Woman, and today I'm very excited to have Henriett Johnson join us on this Expat Woman coffee chat where she will be talking about something that I'm really interested in learning more about, which is attachment style. Henriett is a psychotherapist and couples counselor for expats, and she's also a member of the Expat Woman membership. And I have known Henriett for a couple of years now. She was a sponsor at one of our virtual summits, and speaking at this live was one of the perks. For some reason, being expats, having lives in more than one country, and different time zones, we've been struggling to find a date that worked for both of us. But I'm glad it finally happened, and I have Henriett live now. If you're watching this, let us know in the comments where you're calling in from, which part of the world, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the chat or comments, however you're watching it. So Henriett, I'd love for you to tell us more about yourself. You have a fascinating career journey and expat journey. So, and also tell us, where you started your expat journey and where you're currently based. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so delighted we could finally make it happen. So I'm Danish born and bred, and I have had 3 expat experiences under my belt, all in London, England, which has always been my soul country, so to speak. I raised 3 bilingual children there. I also divorced there and sadly became what on the Hague Convention is called a stock parent. Expat life for me was a gift in the sense that I had to take a really good look at myself and my way of being in the world. I came into the world, into expat life as a very insecure adult. I had lots of traumas. I had lots of relational issues, and I very, very soon realized I need to have a look at these. And then it dawned on me as I was doing my own work over time that perhaps I'm not the only expat facing these challenges. So eventually I studied to become a psychotherapist and a couples counselor, and I now work with expats, individuals, couples and families across the globe. Some come into my practice in Denmark, where I'm currently living, and some I see online.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And, I love to hear someone's origin story and what inspired them to do what they're doing today. We have Jital joining us from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Odense, Denmark.
Odense. That's my hometown, actually.
Oh, so hopefully maybe Jital and you can meet up, because I know she's an expat there. So Jital, definitely connect with Henriett. And if
contact me, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone else is joining us live, I see a bunch of people with the little, it says, so just introduce yourself in the chat or the comments. Let us know where you're calling in from. So Pia is joining us from Rome, Italy. Wonderful. So with that being said, I'm just pulling up my notes because I want to make sure I have the right questions. So I'm curious about what are attachment styles. And can you tell us a little bit more about the different kinds of attachment styles?
Yes. So attachment styles, it's almost like an invisible thread that we carry throughout life. It's formed in early childhood, and it's totally dependent on the emotional connection and safety that we're filled with our parents or other primary caregivers. We have this innate knowledge, subconscious, obviously, that we cannot survive without being connected to other people. And when we are babies, when we are toddlers, this is particularly pronounced. So if we grow up with parents who are not emotionally attuned or not able to emotionally meet, understand, validate our needs, simply to stay connected with our parents, we often dismiss our authenticity and our autonomy. And that means that we begin to change in ways that means we can remain connected with our parents. So we operate with 4 different types of attachment style. One is safe attachment, called secure attachment. And we have that attachment style if we've grown up with parents who have primarily been secure and consistent in providing us safe and emotional, how can you say, attuned comfort. This means that we trust the world, we trust other people, the world becomes the safe place that we can fairly easily venture into, and then we can come back to our parents as a safe harbor for us to be comforted, for us to be held, and then we can go back into the world again. If we are primarily safely attached, that means expat life is relatively easy to set up because we trust that other people want what is best for us. It's easy for us to relate to other people. We don't have an unconscious train of thoughts, of mistrust, of feeling uneasy, of questioning other people's agenda. If, on the other hand, we have grown up with perhaps more inconsistent parenting, perhaps dismissive parenting, we can develop what is called an insecure attachment style. Very, very broadly speaking, we operate with 2. We operate with the avoidant and we operate with the anxious ambivalent. So if we have an avoidant attachment style, we have likely grown up in an environment with 1 or 2 parents who've been dismissive of our emotional needs. We might have been ridiculed, we might have felt humiliated, and we very, very soon learned that I need to stop being as emotional in my approach to my parents because then I lose connection. And as I said before, we need that connection to survive. So this is a normal nervous system response. There's no pathology here. It's our nervous system doing what they are built to do, namely keeping us alive. If we've had parenting that's been more inconsistent, namely that sometimes we've been met emotionally in a safe way, at other times we haven't, we become anxious ambivalently attached. And that means that sometimes the world is a safe place and sometimes it isn't. This can be very confusing. We've also got something called disorganized attached, which recent research has shown is actually an add-on to the other 3 attachment styles. It does not necessarily need to be an insecure attachment in itself. But if we go into expat world with these 3 attachment styles, the disorganized, the anxious ambivalent, or the avoidant, setting up expat life becomes really, really difficult. It becomes difficult to trust that the colleagues, the people that we meet, the friends that we're trying to make are safe to be with. This all happens subconsciously. Often we're not aware that we somehow contribute to these patterns. So say that you are an avoidant, you shy away from emotionally difficult conversations, you shy away from conflict. If you are anxious ambivalently attached, you will pursue because you need to feel connected to other people to regulate yourself, to feel safe. The avoidant, on the other hand, regulates best on their own. So let's say you have a couple, an expat couple, one is avoidant, the other one is anxious ambivalently attached. When all of the structures, the normal structures of family, language, culture, societal structures fall away and everything is foreign, it puts a different kind of strain on such a couple. So where the anxious ambivalently attached partner will look to have conversations about what makes them feel insecure, they will pursue conversation. The avoidant might take this as a personal attack. They might feel, wow, I'm not good enough, I'm not able to provide my partner with what they need. So then their attachment style becomes activated. And that means that whoever is avoidantly attached will withdraw And that withdrawal makes the anxious ambivalent more anxious. So they will pursue, they will come forward. And then we have this cycle that one pursues, one withdraws. The more the avoidant withdraws, the more the anxious ambivalent pursues. And it can go on and on and on. And it can really rip couples apart if they are not mindful of what is happening. There's no villain here. It's not the avoidant who's doing anything wrong. It's not the anxious ambivalent who's doing anything wrong. These are normal attachment style reactions to what is unsafe in the world. So it's about understanding the pattern that you get caught up in. It's the pattern that needs to change. It's not the two people in whatever relationship might look like this.
That's so interesting, Henriett, and I can see how passionate you are
Oh.
about topic. Yeah, while I'm asking people a question, Jital, who lives in, she just wanted to share this with you. So
perfect.
Yeah,
I look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, what is? I guess that's for coffee. What is cafe?
Kaffemøde is a coffee meeting. It actually happens that I don't drink coffee, but I'm very, very keen to meet anyway. I can have a tea, but kaffemøde is coffee meeting.
Just that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I just was curious, people who are watching this live, again, if you let us know where you're calling in from, let me know if you were aware of these attachment styles. Have you experienced them? I didn't even know, this is very new to me about attachment styles and how they can affect expats, how they can affect relationships when you live abroad, whether with your partner, your husband, your spouse, or with friends, family, etc. So this is really fascinating. And I think you shared a little bit in the beginning where you spoke about how you were inspired to follow this route and this profession and this topic because of things that you encountered, some of the trauma you encountered. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit more, and what did you do to overcome these challenges? When did you realize, when did you learn about attachment styles? Because sometimes we have to face a challenge or a hurdle before we realize this is something affecting people, it's affecting me, and it's coming from a pain point. I know that's a lot of questions, but it's basically
I'll try to see if I can sum it up in an answer. So basically, attachment style is everywhere. It's happening between you and me right now. I look at attachment style as an emotional intelligence strategy that we learned as children to apply to remain connected to our parents. So as I said before, there's no pathology. If anything, this is because as human beings, we are adapting to our circumstances. So for me, what made me realize I need to work on some things in myself was twofold. First of all, it was having children. When we become parents, something happens to us. We become much more mindful of our own upbringings, of our own relationships with our parents, and generally speaking, and I mean there are much more nuance to this than what I'm able to talk about today, but generally speaking, we either unknowingly, subconsciously go out and replicate what our parents did to us, how they parented us. And I would like to say that parents are not doing this from a mean point or to harm us. I truly believe everybody's doing the best they can. But our parents have also been children of parents who've also been children, etc., etc. But I noticed when I became a parent, I've got to learn how to regulate myself. I've got to understand why I become triggered, and I need to deal with that better. Then something else happened, and that was us moving to London. And I very, very clearly felt how unsafe I felt relationally in the world. I remember meeting this woman. She was half Danish, half English, and she invited me to her 30th birthday party. And I was so disorganized and insecurely attached that I actually firmly believed that she had a hidden agenda that the birthday party did not exist, and that she would be hiding somewhere laughing when I turned up all dressed up with my family with gifts and food, etc., etc. And this goes to show from what an insecure and scared place in the world I was operating. So these two things, my children and that experience, made me realize I need to seek therapy. So in therapy, many sessions throughout many years, I became much more aware of what are my core wounds. When am I triggered? What is it I'm triggered in? How can I separate what happened to me as a child and what is happening in the here and now? How can I nurture that younger part of myself in the here and now so I can show up more adult, more mature, more authentic, rather than from a triggered place? So this is what led me into it.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that personal story. And that is so interesting that it got so deep that, you thought the birthday party was made up, and that the woman was doing it to make fun of you, and I can see how those things happen. And moving to another country doesn't help.
No.
Yeah. Jita says, I'm so an emotional person, always attached with parents, family, and siblings. I care for them, but still, some point living in Denmark feels detached, very challenging to regulate and balance it. So it's good to know about it. Yeah.
Yes. I'm very pleased to be able to at least give you some knowledge about it today. There's no doubt that moving to a foreign country where all of our strategies, all of our defense mechanisms, all of our knowledge cannot be applied. We literally have to learn how to start from scratch again, which for somebody like me was a massive challenge, but it was also a gift. But not everybody is fortunate enough to have help on their doorstep.
Sophia says, I see three very different attachment styles in my three teenage kids now. They have been affected by the expat life and a marital breakup at different stages in their young life. It is a very important area of knowledge. Thank you for sharing that, Pia. And hopefully, what Henriett is sharing today will help you, and hope maybe you can have additional conversations with her. And Pia says the Danes can be very unemotional, so it can seem harder to connect with local Danes too.
Sadly, that's very true. And I also noticed that Pia said that her children, three, I believe she said, have been differently affected by their parents divorcing. That is also perfectly normal because they will have had three different experiences at three different ages. So siblings do not always come out of childhood with the same attachment style.
Thanks for sharing that. And if you have any questions for Henriett while I'm asking her questions, just drop them in the chat or the comments so she can answer them live. And if you're watching this later, recording or replay, leave them again in the comments. Henriett, I'm sure, will be checking periodically and can answer your questions then. So you've touched upon all this about how attachment styles affect our lives when living abroad. You've also spoken about your own experiences. So what can expats do to create a more secure attachment style? Are there some tips that people can implement after this watching you today? Something simple, something maybe more complex?
It's a very, very big question. And I would like to be honest in saying there's no quick fix to this. It takes work, and it often takes work spread over years. For some people, it feels right out unfair that they can feel like a victim of this. They haven't done anything wrong, so to say. It's their parents who haven't worked with their issues, and that's very true. And many people feel like that when they embark on the work. I would, however, like to say there's also some good news in it, namely that you're not dependent on other people doing their work. You can choose to do your own work. First and foremost, curiosity. Be curious about how you are in relation to other people, in particular to your spouse and to your children. That's where we've got the most at stake attachment-wise. So that's where our attachment styles, if we are either disorganizedly or insecurely attached, can have a field day. So be curious. Build an awareness of what is your contribution to conflicts that are not solved in a good manner. It's very easy to point fingers at others. It's very easy to make the arrow point outwards, but have a look at yourself and be honest with yourself. What is it you sometimes unintentionally come to do that can harm the conversation? When you've figured that out, and for most of us, we tend to do the same again and again and again, but it can have different phases. But there's an underlying theme. When you've figured that out, try to really be curious of how has this come about? What is it that happens for you in those moments where you do whatever you do? It might be that you become critical. It might be that you're blaming your partner. It might be that you find it difficult to let go, you keep pursuing. It may also be, if you're more avoidantly attached, it may be that you try to dodge conflicts, you're trying to keep it on a very practical level, you're trying to fix things rather than actually hear what your partner is saying. Bottom line is, we all long to feel connected. When we are securely attached, we can work towards that. If we're insecurely attached, we often lose connection. So curiosity and awareness are the first steps. And then when you've found the awareness, find ways to begin to heal those childhood wounds. Find ways of beginning to take care of yourself in moments where you're triggered. And I'm asking a lot here. This is difficult. It's not something I would expect anyone to go out and be able to do tomorrow just because they've heard me talk about it. I want to acknowledge that. But these are the first steps. Then you need to build more capacity in your nervous system so you're not as easily triggered. And then you need to practice other ways of being with your spouse, with your children, with your friends. And then gradually your nervous system will pick these new ways of being up, and it can lean into a safer way of being with other people. I still sometimes get caught up, but I'm much, much quicker at noticing it. I can take care of myself and I can repair. Repair is key. We're not aiming for conflict-free zones between couples. We're aiming for being able to take conflicts in a more conducive way, a less hurtful way, and to be able to reach out to repair afterwards.
Thank you, Henriett. And I think,
you're welcome.
Yeah, I think the awareness is very important. I think for many of us expats, when you move to another country, we're so focused on getting a job, finding housing, if you have kids, finding schooling, and the mental health gets pushed in a corner, and then suddenly it rears its ugly head. So I think being aware, even if before you move abroad, if you're watching this and you're planning to move abroad, I think keeping, focusing on mental health and how that can affect your experience abroad is so important. So
Yes.
Pia wanted to say that, because she spoke about Danes being unemotional, she wants to say she's Danish herself. So,
I gathered that from her name. Yes.
Just like I'm Indian, I feel I can criticize India, but if you're not Indian, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then Pia says, can an insecurely attached parent produce securely attached children? In other words, can a parent break the family cycle of attachment style? That's such a great question.
That's a fantastic question.
Thanks, Pia. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Pia. It requires for you to do your own work therapeutically. Look, I've done my work throughout my children's childhood. There's no doubt that my children wouldn't have been as securely attached as they are today had I not done that work. So the more work we do on ourselves, the more healing we have for ourselves, that will help our children. It's a gift for our children. So the short answer is yes. I would also like to add to my long spiel before that it is perfectly normal that we shift between these attachment styles. We probably have one which is predominant, and then we have aspects of the other attachment styles. So it's very normal to be able to see yourself in more than just one. And it can also vary depending on how you attach to your father, how you attach to your mum. If they have two different attachment styles, you're likely to also yourself have two different attachment styles. But the answer to Pia's question is yes, it's perfectly doable.
That's really good to know. And
Yes,
yeah, wonderful. So we're
it gives
almost,
hope.
yeah, we
Hmm.
all need that. Again, if you have any more questions, drop them in the chat. We're almost at the end of our 30 minutes. I like to keep these to 30 minutes, but we
Hmm.
can stay a little longer. People have more questions. So I wanted to ask you a few not last minute questions. I know
Hmm.
last questions, I guess. One is this, so you are a member of the Expat Women membership. You've been part of our community for a long time, and our slogan or our goal is make bold moves abroad, either before you move or after you move abroad. So what is one thing you're proud of achieving after you moved or before you moved abroad? Any bold move? Is there something you'd like to share?
I've got several. I've got several, but if I were to keep it within the context of today, I would say that the boldest move I probably made was to start working on myself. It takes courage to look at yourself. It's painful, um, but it can also be extremely rewarding. And I'm very, very proud of how I managed to break the intergenerational trauma traveling in my family. I'm very proud of how I've been able to do things a lot better for my children than I would have had I not embarked on my own work.
That's beautiful, Henriette, and that now you're also teaching other people how to
Yes.
make their bold moves abroad by dealing with their attachment styles.
Mm.
And I also wanted to ask you, what do you love about being a member of the Expat Women membership? Because you've been a member, I think, for about 6 months now, and
Mm.
I'm so happy that you joined. You are a very
Thank you.
valuable member. So, yeah, and I'm
It's interesting because I joined for several reasons, but I am actually very conscious that one of my growing itches, so to speak, is public speaking, and I'm having a lot of help with that within the membership of the Expat Woman. So that's another bold move of mine, one that I'm very grateful for.
wonderful.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
I
doing it
have
right
met.
now. You're doing it right now. It's
I
not.
am doing it right now. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not easy going live.
Yeah.
On YouTube. You're going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, talking about something that's, sharing your personal story, but also
Mhm.
sharing value. So, more power to you that you've made
Thank
this
you.
bold move. I'm so happy to see that. And that is the focus. For those people wondering about the Expat Women membership, I have the QR code in the right-hand corner. If you scan it, it'll take you that we have wonderful members like Henriette. And the focus of the Expat Women membership is to help our members build their personal brand, showcase their expertise like Henriett is doing right now. We have an amazing community of women who all
Mm.
want to step out of their comfort zone, stand out, support other people, create influence, income, and impact, and build their visibility. And with visibility come opportunities, because that's what happened to me when I became an expat. I felt I'd lost my identity. I had to
Mm.
start from scratch. And then, of course, there's all these mental, health issues that also crop up, which we don't even think about. But I realized that I had to share my voice. I had to push myself to be, to make myself visible, because no one was going to come and give me those opportunities because they didn't know me, right? When we were there. And so that's why I started this membership. And with that, I wanted to ask you, oh yes, and one more thing. So Henriette is all talking about public speaking. Henriette's also going to be a speaker at the upcoming Expat Women Summit in May 2026. I'll share links to that. She'll be talking more about the topic. We'll be making official announcement. So one more feather in your cap with being a public speaker for the second time at a summit. So I also have the QR code for the summit right here on the top right-hand corner. So you can join. It's free. Right now we have the waitlist open. And finally, I'm sharing a QR code for Henriett's website called the Good Expat Life website. So I wanted to ask you, Henriett, before we close, how can people connect with you? How can they work with you? How can they find you? Go ahead.
So perhaps the easiest way to find me is via my website, which is www.thegoodexpatlife.com. There's a contact form there. My email address is on there. There are also links for my presence on LinkedIn and Facebook. I also have a newsletter that people can sign up to. I've got a section with resources. There's a newsletter, as I said. There are a few guides. There is an online course on attachment style for expats, taking them through the whole work. And there's also a section with 70 plus blog posts about psychological consequences of expat life. So you're very welcome to have a browse around. You're very welcome to contact me. You'll find the details on my website.
And that's a QR code in the top right-hand corner that will lead you to Henriett's website. So thank you so much, Henriett, for joining us, for sharing your time, your expertise, your stories. Thank you to everyone in the audience who's watching this live, especially Pia and Jital, who were pretty engaged in the comments. As I said, if you're watching this later and have questions for Henriett, type them in the comments. And I will see you all soon. Go out there and make bold moves abroad. Thank you. Bye.